Hey guys, coming up for Girl Meets World, Season 3, Episode 17, Girl Meets Hollyworld, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode, mainly because, once again, we had a very unnecessary 2-week break that I don't really know why we had. I mean, I think it would have made sense to have one next week, obviously because it's Thanksgiving. Why we had one this week, though, I have no idea. That didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But either way, I was definitely looking forward to this episode, mainly because I've really been enjoying the season. And I gotta say, this was a very different, but overall really great kind of episode. This is probably one of the funniest episodes we've had from the show. Most definitely one of the most entertaining. I pretty much loved everything about this one. But it also kind of shifted the focus a bit. The focus wasn't on Riley or Maya. It was actually on Katy and her friend Bobby Joe, which I thought was very interesting to see, and it was a really nice change of pace. I really enjoyed this one overall. Let's just get right into it, though, because there's not a ton to talk about this episode. This is a very basic episode, but I really did like this one overall. I thought it was a lot of fun to watch, and that's something that Girl Meets World has always done really well. Simple concepts, I think they do really well with, and definitely, I really loved this episode's a perfect example of that. So we start off the episode. We see that Maya has kidnapped someone. We don't know who this is, but Riley's freaking out. You know, she's saying, "Am I an accomplice? What have I done here? You know, who have you kidnapped and everything?" And Riley, of course, is really worried because of the fact that this is someone that, you know, they kidnapped and everything that she saw her do. But we eventually realized that she kidnapped it. Now, this episode's presented in non-linear form. I thought it was kind of cool the way they did that in the beginning. The whole episode isn't, but this first few scenes, they're non-linear. And we cut back to Riley and Maya asking Topanga how good of a lawyer she is and if she's going to be able to get them out of whatever they did. Then we cut to Cory because Riley asked, "What is my father going to write on the board for this?" And it was like police or something, so they're freaking out about that. But basically, they essentially have kidnapped an actress named Anastasia, Bongileri, something like that, Bongileri, and this is someone that Riley knows very well. This is a very famous British movie actress, a la, like, say, if Marion Cotillard got kidnapped, or Cotillard, I don't know how you pronounce her name, or someone like, say, Emma Watson, if she was kidnapped. This is a very well-known British movie actress, and I thought it was very funny to see in this episode, because immediately Riley says, "Okay, we didn't kidnap her, we borrowed her," and she's completely okay with that. She's okay with them borrowing her. I thought that was kind of funny to see her bonding with Riley and Maya. I definitely really did enjoy. But then we eventually get into the fact of why they kidnapped her, which is a much more important reason than what we thought. But getting back to Cory's lesson, I did like the way this episode was intercut with the police, and it was Yogi's dad and everything, and Riley and Maya trying not to freak out because of the fact of what was going on there. I thought that was really funny. But anyway, Anastasia's bonding with Riley and Maya. You know, they're trying to do whatever they can to not make their cover known. But then Katy comes in, and we eventually find out that the main reason why Maya kidnapped Anastasia is because there's a part for the role of Katy Hart, which essentially is Katy. It's everything that Maya thinks would be perfect for Katy. It's the same kind of background she's gone through. It's the same kind of story. She doesn't think there's anyone better for the part. Riley, however, thinks they should give Anastasia a chance. You know, Anastasia's a much more experienced actress. She's had it all, and this is something that she should definitely have. So I like that these two are kind of in competition with each other. I definitely really did like that, and I especially like that this did focus on Katy's movie career, because this is something I think that she's always wanted. We've known since we were introduced to Katy that she's always wanted to be this big movie actress. She's always wanted to have a huge part in something, and I really like seeing that here. I thought that was a lot of fun to watch, definitely, and you find out very quickly that Anastasia is actually not Anastasia. She's actually Bobby Joe, Katy's best friend from back in the day. They used to do a lot of things together. They had, like, this little song and everything. Kind of reminds us of Riley and Maya a little bit, the way that they are, and I thought it was a lot of fun to watch these two interact, but right off the bat, you know, Riley and Maya say, "Okay, you're so happy, why do you still want the part from each other, you know, what's going on here?" They don't quite understand why these two would be in competition. I mean, they seem like they're on very good terms, they seem like there's really nothing going on with them, so why would they want to make this such a competition? It didn't really make much sense to them, other than the fact that they just wanted to start something between each other. That just didn't really make sense, and basically, we realized very quickly that, you know, she, in fact, does want the part. There's nothing that they're really going to be able to do about it, because, I mean, she thinks she deserves it. And even though Katy is, you know, her best friend, she's an unknown actress. She hasn't really done anything that big, and obviously they both really want the part. So it's kind of this complex situation here, and you understand why things are the way they are. And I thought that definitely was very interesting to see the way that was done. But we cut back to the classroom scene and we find out that Sarah's dad, who it's cool to see Sarah Carpenter getting more stuff to do. I feel like this is something that was a no-brainer, that, you have Sabrina Carpenter want to give her sister stuff to do. She's surprisingly a very good actress. I really like what I've been seeing from her. I thought they weren't really giving her dialogue because I didn't think that she was that great of an actress, but I like what we got with her in this episode. Basically, we find that Sarah's dad is actually, and I guess they're not bringing up the comparison that Maya looks like Sarah because they literally look exactly the same, just with two different hairstyles. But either way, Sarah's dad is the movie director, and this is freaking Riley and Maya out. The fact they have Bobby Joe or Anastasia kidnapped at their house, they're obviously freaking out about that. But the movie very much reminds me of one of the weirdest episodes of Boy Meets World by far, but also one of the funniest episodes. If you guys remember the episode where Eric goes in for an audition for a TV show and it's exactly like Boy Meets World, that is essentially this episode. And it wasn't as weird as the one from Boy Meets World, but it very much reminded me of that, and I think they did a really good job with that. The difference is that they acknowledge in this that it actually is them. So it wasn't nearly as funny as it was in Boy Meets World, but I did think it was still really funny here. We see right off the bat that Farkle wants a part of Farkle, because I guess they're not changing his name. Lucas wants a part of Dukas, and Zay wants the part of, I don't remember what his name was, but it certainly wasn't Zay. And then there's Smiley, and I can't remember what Maya's was. I don't really think they remember. I don't really think they said. I just can't remember what it was. But either way, we see Zay, Farkle, and Lucas desperately want these parts. They do everything they can to get them. It was a lot of fun to watch them, try to get these parts, even though we know they're probably not going to. I thought that was a lot of fun to watch overall. Them showing up to the audition and things like that, that was definitely really fun to see. But then getting back to Bobby, Joe, and Katy, we get some really great scenes from these two. More than I thought we would. I thought this was going to be a really silly episode, but the big point this episode is trying to make is that these are two really close friends who have drifted apart because of one common goal. The fact that they both really want this part, and they're not going to let that go. I mean, Bobby Joe isn't easily just going to give up this part. No, she's a very famous actress, and this is something that she thinks she could play really well. Even though Katy could play it really well, she thinks she could. And Katy talks about how this role is entirely hers, and that she's very happy now with Sean and things like that. And that was my only complaint with this episode, is where was Sean? I don't really understand that. I'll get more into that, but either way, we see her, she's talking about how happy she is and how much has changed her life and how much she wants this part and things like that. Just a really well done scene, I think, showing how far Katy has come and things like that. I really enjoyed that overall in this scene. I thought that was very well done. But the other thing that I definitely really did love in this episode, besides the fact that we had, like I said, some really great stuff between Katy and Bobby Joe, is the fact that they basically make fact of the note that even though these two are friends, they're never going to be as close as they were. And this really starts to affect Riley and Maya. They're thinking, wait, you two are best friends. Why aren't you going to stay, why are you going to drift apart? What's going on here? So Maya asked Cory a question that I thought was definitely interesting to see. We'll get into that, though. But we see Katy. She shows up to the movie audition, and the director feels there's no one better than Anastasia for the part. She's very experienced. He likes hearing her read lines. And Maya says that her mother's beautiful, too, and she should listen to her read lines. And she actually reads the part to the real Riley and Maya, talking about the struggles she's endured and how she can't find a man. And it just was a really powerful monologue, because you can tell that this is something that Katy was once going through. She couldn't find a man. She felt like she was at a crossroads in her life. She had nothing left for her, and now she has everything. She has a very loving husband. She has a daughter. She has a really nice house. She has pretty much everything she's wanted, and this is the last thing she's wanted, and the director actually does give her the part. It's a really well done scene, and I'd love to see more of this. I don't know if we're going to, but I really would love to see more of Katy trying to get this part. I thought it was just a lot of fun to see, and I like that Riley wanted the part of Smiley, but he completely turned her down. Very funny stuff. They definitely really enjoyed that. So then we get to the end scene where Maya asks Cory this really good question, I think really sums up the episode overall, and that is that how can two friends who are best friends drift apart? And Cory talks about how that genuinely is what happens. And yeah, I mean, generally, after you're not in school with someone anymore, it's kind of hard to keep in contact with them, because, it's just different. It's different. You make other friends. You drift apart. It's just not as easy to keep in contact with people. And that's the perfect example of what Katy and Bobby Joe went through. These two people went completely different paths. They went completely their separate ways. And while they're still going to be friends always, they're never going to have that bond that they used to have. And that's just life. That's how it usually works. And it's sad, but that's exactly what happens. You just drift apart from people sometimes. And that's exactly the case with Katy and Bobby Joe, is that they just kind of drifted apart after a while. So that was definitely sad to see, but I think it was a very meaningful and very meaningful and relatable lesson, definitely. And then we end the episode with us finding out that Zay, Farkle, and Lucas, while they are in fact acting like very stuck-up celebrities, they didn't in fact get the part. And I really did love cutting back, seeing all three of them audition. Farkle's audition immediately. They don't like what he has to bring. Lucas says an accent, and he says no. And then Zay, they didn't like Zay, but he does have this catchphrase now, which is Zay what, which I thought was really funny to see. So they don't get the part, but that is basically the way the episode ends. Really fun episode overall. Let me get into this episode and talk about what I really liked about it. So for me, this was a really fun episode. Like I said, one of the most entertaining by far. It was really fun to see Riley and Maya in this case and them not knowing what to do. I thought that was a lot of fun to watch. What I loved even more, though, was seeing Katy's journey. I feel like Katy's come so far in the show. This episode really acknowledged that, and she really has come very far, and that's something I think they showed very well here. What I also really loved was the bonding between her and Bobby Joe. I thought all that was great. My only complaint in this episode are two. One, the fact that we didn't see Sean. I mean, I would have thought that, Sean and Katy are married now. You would have thought that he would have come and tried to vouch for his wife to get the part. I don't know why he didn't show up at that audition. It didn't really make much sense to me why he wasn't there. I mean, especially because this is her husband, someone who'd be very supportive. I don't know why he wasn't there. They didn't really give a reason why he wasn't there, so that right off the bat is a complaint. I don't really love the way the show has treated Sean. I think the show treats Sean well, but he should be in the show a lot more. I mean, especially now he's married to Katy. I feel like that should have changed a lot, but I think he's going to be in the Christmas episode, but we'll have to see. That's what I heard, that he's in the Christmas episode. I don't know if that's true, but we'll have to see what happens with that. And then I guess my only other complaint is I don't really think we got it. I don't really think that Smackle, I don't know why she wasn't here either. They could have easily had a joke with her. They really did not give a reason why Smackle wasn't in this episode. This one felt very bizarre. Most times, like, okay, I get why she wasn't here, but this one I really did not understand. Other than that, guys, I really enjoyed this episode. This was a really fun episode overall. But again, we have to wait another, 2 weeks or something like that. I get that they're trying to stretch the season out. There's only, I believe, 22 episodes a season. I don't know if that's entirely true, but there's, I think, minimum of 23 or something like that. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Love your thoughts on it. And we'll see you guys in my next, which will be for the Vampire Diaries, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.